Hello, this is Kelli, Krystle, and Emily here to present our topic, observation tools and techniques. So the way that we are going to run this is we are thinking of our audience as if we're presenting this at a staff meeting to our teachers. So we have summarized some of the research to make it more appropriate for our teachers. With that being said, here we go. So schools around the world, not just our schools, are experiencing this lower student achievement. And you probably all know, but what is that number one factor affecting student achievement? Yes, it is the quality of teachers. So then the big question comes, how do we improve the quality of teaching? I want you to think about this term, instructional leadership. What does that mean to you? I want you to take a sticky note from their table and just jot down your thoughts on the paper. Here's a definition that I came across while reading some research. An influence relationship that motivates, enables, and supports teachers' efforts to learn and change their instructional practices. Do any of these words from this definition or the thoughts kind of mirror or match what you wrote on your sticky note? Or maybe how is it different? I'd like you to turn and talk at your table and see what comes up. It's really important that we as a staff have a common understanding of what this means. I personally believe that teachers need more feedback than once or twice a year. And research backs that up. And they say that frequent informal observations actually give supervisors the ability to give teachers meaningful feedback so that you can actually improve your instruction through practical tips and strategies. Another recent study that was actually seeking to improve teachers' practice through observations concluded that in order to ensure that effective instruction is actually being carried out on a consistent basis, that administrators must work with teachers in a non-threatening way in order to develop, in an effort to develop and improve best practices. So I think about, what does that mean? What does that look like? And the research also shows that in order to do that, or one way to do that, is to be able to go into classrooms and collect objective data through observational tools. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what some of those tools might be. So this one is an example of where an administrator might come in to collect participatory data. And so like how many, kids participated in a discussion or contributed ideas, or, the boys versus the girls, who was called on more, those kinds of things. There are other types of tools where it's really getting more like this, where it's selective scripting. So an administrator might come in and literally just jot down words or responses that students are saying or things that teachers are saying. So there's no judgment being passed on what is actually being said. It's literally the administrator taking it down. And then what happens afterwards, from whatever the data is collected, then it's really important that the teacher and the administrator come back together to debrief in a conversation where the teacher can analyze the data and kind of figure out together what some next steps might be.
So as we continue to think about effective teacher observation, we know that teachers are continuously striving to increase student learning. One way to achieve this is through effective and purposeful observations. On your Post-it note, please write down one word that comes to your mind when you think of being observed by your supervisor or principal. Then turn and talk with your partner to explain why you chose that word. Each school year, a supervisor observes most teachers on 2 separate occasions for a formal observation. While it is important to assess teaching and learning, 2 formal observations out of 180 days does not seem to be the most effective way to help a teacher identify changes he or she could make to improve his or her instruction. These are only 2 isolated days in an entire school year. How can this be representative of an entire year? Rachel Gabriel, an assistant professor of reading and education at the University of Connecticut, points out that the challenge comes in trying to measure the quality of teaching. We want to see teachers stretching their students' thinking and pushing them to their highest capacity, but how is this measured? What feedback do we need from our supervisors to grow as teachers? Quality teaching is more than just high test scores. It's understanding and supporting the whole child in an academic growth as well as social and emotional growth. In addition, observing the craft of teaching does not always fit into a commercial rubric or evaluation tool. Think of a time where your supervisor or principal helped you grow as a teacher. Also, think of a time when this did not occur. What were the different elements in each situation? Was the feedback shared with you differently in each situation? Teachers need effective feedback in a timely manner in order to grow and therefore improve their instruction for students. As we rethink traditional teacher observation, research is shifting our thinking to teacher-driven observation. We are moving away from only supervisors conducting observations. As teachers, we are committed to meeting the needs of all learners in our classrooms. We want to try new strategies in our teaching, but it is difficult to know if improvement has been made when we teach in isolation. Teachers need colleagues to examine what is being taught in the classroom. As Grimm, Kaufman, and Doty state, through teacher-driven observation, teachers engage peers in gathering and analyzing classroom data that speak to the unique context of their own classrooms. This approach has demonstrated potential to meaningfully improve instruction and student achievement. Existing approaches to teacher observation generally serve the observer. They are looking for something specific and noting whether or not the teacher was successful. Teacher-driven observation flips this approach and allows the observed teacher to be both the leader and primary learner in the observation process. Grimm, Kaufman, and Doty researched and found that success is being met with this teacher-driven model. For example, teachers at Hamilton High School in Chandler, Arizona, have participated in this observation approach for 4 years. What they found is that more than 80% of Hamilton's teachers report that the approach has been more valuable than professional development opportunities they've experienced and has contributed to instructional improvements. Many other professional fields consistently observe others and engage in continuous coaching. Teaching should be no different. Teachers want to improve their craft, and teacher-driven observation is one way to achieve this goal. Teacher success means student success, and isn't this our ultimate goal? Turn and talk with your partner and share your feelings regarding teacher-driven observation.
So, what does this information mean for us in our school? Where exactly do we begin? Todd Whitaker states, I am convinced that most teachers do the best they know how. If we want them to do better, we must help them improve their skills and master new ones. He further shares the importance of instructional leaders being present in classrooms to learn from examples of good teaching, as well as teachers gaining new and diverse strategies from collaborating with peers. But exactly what steps can we take to create a culture of continuous improvement? According to Peterson, schools must employ 5 core disciplines. 1, systems thinking. 2, personal mastery. 3, mental modes. 4, building a shared vision. And 5, team learning. People will expand their capacity to create the desired results, nurture new information, embrace feedback, and continually learn. In order to evolve our approach to evaluation and observation, let's gauge where we currently are so we can create a plan. We're going to gather voice data from everyone present today and include the general feedback in our professional development plan. So I'm going to ask that before we leave today's meeting, please reflect on the following. What type of observational experiences have you engaged in this year? Which format of observation was most impactful and why? Do you feel comfortable enough to open up your practice to a colleague? If yes, what has helped you to become comfortable? But if not, what will you need to develop such comfort? Your feedback is important to us, so please be as thoughtful as possible. Please reflect, and thank you so much for attending today's meeting.